Hello, everyone. Welcome to another installment of the FutureDDS Dental School Experience Series. Today, we're speaking with Pooja of VCU. We're definitely going to have her explain her experience at VCU Dental School so far, kind of give us her experience, and hopefully you guys gain a little bit of perspective in making your decision to get into dental school. So I'll allow Pooja to introduce herself, tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi guys, my name is Pooja Katie. I'm a D2 at Virginia Commonwealth University. I'm from Ohio. I'm an out-of-state student here, and I've known Terrell since our Miami days, so I'm excited.
Awesome. Thank you. So, as we said before, Pooja attends VCU. I guess, could you tell us a little bit about your school? Like where it's located, how is the city that it's in, what city it's in, and, the class size and overall school size.
Yeah, of course. So VCU is in Richmond, Virginia. You get around like 100 students incoming class, and then second year you get 10 more, which are international students. So they're dentists internationally, and then they want to be dentists here, so they have to go back to school to do that. It's located in the hospital community of like Richmond. So it has like the medical school, the pharmacy school, the occupational therapy, physical therapy, nursing. Everything is within just a few blocks of one another. Richmond itself, it's not as big as like Miami or Cleveland or Boston, but it's pretty small. You can technically go from one place to another within like 10 minutes. However, it's a growing city. One thing I don't like about Richmond is that there's no sports teams here. So if you're into sports, you kind of have to go up to Maryland or down to North Carolina, but they're really big on college sports here. So if that's something you're into.
Okay, that's cool. So I guess what were some key things that led to your decision to go to school there? What were some things, I guess, key factors in your overall school decisions, and then particularly what allowed you or what made you want to choose VCU?
So I got into a bunch of schools. However, I picked VCU because of the clinical experience here. You're introduced into clinics like right away, like within the first year, I believe, like we were in clinics assisting and shadowing. We have operative within the first 6 weeks of school. Like just the clinical experience here was like not comparable to anything else at the other schools I got into. So that was the reason I came here. I also picked Richmond as a city to pursue my professional degree in, was because I didn't want to be distracted by living in a big city, and living in a big city comes with its distractions of there's always a place to go see, there's always something to do. So I feel like if I lived in a smaller city, I would have more concentration on my exams and my books instead of going out and exploring, which is kind of what happened when I lived in Florida. I was always that.
Yeah, Florida was definitely a different scene than Richmond, I'm sure. Because I mean, this is definitely a different scene than Boston, so I can imagine. I guess another thing is, like, if you could remember back to when you were applying and going through your interview process, how was the interview process, and did that kind of play into your decision to go to school there? Did they stress that clinical aspect and that led to your decision?
So they actually changed the interview process since I interviewed here. They now made it a 2-day interview rather than a 1-day interview. The 2-day interview was because they wanted students to get more of a feel for the school. Like you can only know so much within maybe the 6 hours you're there. So to pick a school, you need more time. So that's why they spread it out into 2 days. So people really want to come here and they really feel the environment of the school. So the first day now they have like a dinner, you're different, like the financial aid meetings and all the, the business aspect of the interview process. And then Friday morning and throughout Friday, you'll have your interview, which is a 2-on-1 conversation or a 3-on-1 conversation with a faculty and a local dentist or another person who works at school. And it's very conversational, and honestly, this was the best interview experience I had personally. Compared to the other schools, I was either very sick at other interviews, which I thought was like a sign from like above that, this is not the school for you, or the other schools that I also interviewed at would just grilled me with questions. So this one was like, it was very welcoming, the interview was.
Awesome. Yeah, it's
I
definitely.
still see my interviewer all the time. He's like, I'm so glad you came. And I was like, thanks so much.
Yeah, he remembers you. That's a good sign.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I guess or another question is like, once you got into school, as you said before, Miami is a very different city than Richmond that you're in.
Yeah.
How was that transition going into first year? You know, moving to a new city, one, and then two, actually starting dental school. Because like you said, we did our masters together in Miami. How was that transition for you? And I guess how have you settled in since then? Like, how has it impacted you?
Right. So, Barry, the masters that me and Cheryl did, we took all these classes that first year dental students usually would take, like your histology, your physiology, biochemistry, etc. So I wasn't scared of the material that was going to come up during these exams because I knew I've tackled them before, but I was more scared of the fact that how fast everything was moving and we were taking so many classes at once. So that was more difficult than anything else. So that's the major challenge of dental school is how much can you handle, because it's just being thrown at you and you just kind of have to take it. Like I always say, every day in dental school requires you to push yourself a little bit more than you did the day before. However, VCU is really good about slowly introducing you into dental school. They only give you just a little bit in the beginning with anatomy and just maybe a few other classes. And then once you have fall break, then you come back and then you're fully immersed into everything, full dental school. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely challenging, but you get used to it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you kind of forced to
Once you're kind of forced to get used to it.
All right. Yeah. So, since you did do the masters, did you see a big difference between someone who did a master's versus someone who came straight from undergrad? And did you kind of serve as a mentor role? I guess maybe not a mentor because you guys are the same classmates, but did you kind of help lead them through certain classes like the biochem or the anatomy outside? I think they seen for the first time.
I feel like I don't think it was mentoring as in knowledge mentoring. It was more like, you can do this because I've done this, and if I can do it, you can do it type of thing. Because we would learn different tricks and tips from our professors at Barry that I was able to remember from that and apply it to this. Or I was like, oh, well, this is nothing compared to what I learned in my master's program. So this is, this is doable. Like, you can do this if you just put the time and effort into it. So no, I don't think that there's any significance in the grades, I guess, that you get versus a person who came just from undergrad versus a person who did a master's. But I think there's that maturity level that's a lot different when you're comparing the two students.
Got you. So at VCU, like you said, you guys get in the clinic a lot earlier than, well, I guess not a lot earlier than other schools, a lot earlier than we did at least. We definitely focus on clinical aspect as well. But what is a typical day of school look like, especially for your first year? How is like the schedule set up? Are they block classes or systems based? And then again, like how is that that assist schedule set up? Like how often do you have to do it first year?
Yeah. Okay. So your first year, you start off 6 weeks of anatomy. The first thing that you do is anatomy and neuroanatomy, 6 weeks, and then you slowly get introduced into operative as well the first 6 weeks. I think you're only taking 3 classes. And, you get to hold your handpiece for the first time and you get to do all those cool things. And you have class Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Friday, you get done at 12 unless there's a mandatory lecture, which they usually don't have, but sometimes they do. And that's like a self-study. So, you don't have to be at school if you don't want to, but professors are here to help you in lab or in lecture. If you don't understand something, they're in their office, you can go see them. Other than that, you have a bunch of lab classes, anatomy, dental anatomy, operative, clinical skills, which is like a clinical based course, and then occlusion. And then you get into clinics starting the spring of your first year. You start assisting and you learn how to do local anesthetics, you learn how to do x-rays, you learn how to do all just different things an assistant would do. You get to learn how to do it first year.
That's cool. It sounds very hectic for the first year.
First year, I mean, it's fun because, that's when everyone is at the same level. Classes wise, everyone's at different levels because people have taken it before, people haven't taken it before. but no one's ever done this dental stuff before. So that's when you feel like you're at the same level as your classmates.
Okay, so how do you, I guess, manage your lifestyle once you get into that hectic 8 to 5 every single day of the week lifestyle? How do you manage yourself, or how students decided to manage at VCU? And also, do they have any type of systems in place that kind of assist with them with the, you know, the stress level that comes with dental school and starting dental school and having that transition?
We do have like wellness weeks, and we have like wellness emails that are sent out to us, like different things that you can do to make sure that you stay healthy in school. Besides that, the school doesn't really do much to make sure that we are sane, I guess you could say. But you know, for me personally, like I try to get my work done in school so I don't have to come back after school, because the last thing I do is want to be here more than I have to be here. You know, I'm so used to the Florida life where, you know, you go to class and you go to the beach and you come home and you sleep. But here it's like you don't really have that option. You have to go to class and then you have to go home and study. So if you get your lab work done during lab time, that saves you those 4 or 5 hours that you'd be stuck in lab, because once you're in lab, you never leave. You're always trying to do little things here and there. And half the time lab time is socializing, honestly. So if you cut that down, you'll get a lot of work done.
Man, that's definitely one of the things that I've learned so far about dental school is like friends will definitely like double as much time as you're gonna spend doing
Yeah, exactly. You spend a lot more time in lab than you're supposed to, because you're talking and whatever.
Yeah. Hey, it makes the experience though. It makes it that much better.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I guess what is one big thing that I guess has kind of surprised you about VCU, or that you see as like a very advantageous thing at your school, something that you would never change and that is totally crafted like or molded your experience at VCU? Like what's made it unique for you?
Something that made it unique for me is that built within the city, which I think is a lot different than any other school I went to. My undergrad was kind of its own little campus out of the city. Barry was in a suburb of Miami, and then so this is different because I walked to school within the city, which I think is pretty dope. I feel like I'm living in New York City, but just a very, very smaller version of it. Another thing that I like about VCU is like the clinical aspect of it, because when I talk to my friends at other schools, like when I talk to you, Terrell, about Tufts, it's like not throwing shade at other schools, but like I feel like we are doing a lot more clinically, and you guys are probably doing a lot more didactically than we are. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter which school you go to, like you learn what you need to learn. But I feel like here we're introduced a lot earlier than other schools.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Are there like any last words of advice to someone applying right now that you would give to them? You know, going into interviews, applications, anyone that's looking at VCU as a potential school, what are some last words you would give to them?
The last words I kind of tell every dental student, or every incoming dental student, or people that we've talked to during interview process, I always say the same thing. Like, you know, it's not easy, it's tiring, it's challenging, it's tough. And, you know, getting good grades is not the only thing that matters. You have to have the commitment to touch people's lives to the point that every time that they smile, like you're the reason behind it. You know, you're the person who makes those teeth look good or makes them feel confident in the teeth that they have. And, you know, at the end of the day, that laugh from their patient, or that first smile that they take with in that photo, like they were like, oh, my dentist is the reason I'm able to laugh today. So, you know, you have to have that mindset. Like, you're not doing this for yourself. You're doing it for your patients.
You heard it. You heard it first from Pooja. Make sure you put your patients first, and they'll kind of craft your experience for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I want to wrap it up. If there's any, you know, I don't know if you want to give the viewers your contact, or maybe the school's contact. Should they just go to the website to get more information, or can they hit you up to?
Yeah, definitely message me. Give my Instagram handle. It's Winnie the Pooch, like Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooch 93. It's my Instagram handle. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on there. Or, you know, I think admissions is pretty friendly, so you can definitely contact admissions and they can answer any questions.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll make sure we put that contact information down in the description so everyone can get in contact with you if they have any questions. But on behalf of FutureDDS and all of our subscribers, I just want to thank you so much for sitting down, taking this time out, and giving us some great insight into VCU and your experience so far. So best of luck heading forward, heading into clinic, officially getting all your patients and everything. If you haven't already, you guys viewing, make sure you go down, hit that like button, the subscribe button, and notification bell so you know whenever we post up new content, as well as continue to pay attention and tap into this series because it's giving you great information for you making decisions on which school you want to go to. So thank you again. See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Love you, Terrell.
All right, now see you. Love you too.